welcome to Ignite 2020, our career exploration series here at Del Valle University. Want to let you know that this session will explore careers that are focused on helping people specific to medicine and health. My name is Katie Martucci. I work in career services here at Del Valle as our employer relations advisor. And I just want to start by thanking our sponsors. For this particular event and for our Helping People series, I want to thank Delaware Valley University's Alumni Council. So all of our panelists are willing to connect with you, our students. So if you want to connect with them individually, we recommend please stay around for those roundtables, or you can also email cspd@delval.edu for their contact info. So now we can get started. So for our panelists, welcome. And if each of you could just go around and please share your name and your title, and then we'll ask a couple questions of each of you. Gwynne, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay, I'm Gwynne Walker. I'm the director of Jobologi at internU in Malvern, Pennsylvania.
Emily, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Emily Smith. I'm an optometry resident at the West Haven VA Medical Center in West Haven, Connecticut.
And Christina, you're up.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tina Minnick. I work as a scientist at Merck. That's in West Point, Pennsylvania, not too far from Del Valle.
All right, well, thanks again, everybody. So we'll kick it off with questions. And first, and we'll go in that same order. Gwynne, could you tell us how your first job impacted your career and where you are today?
Okay, my first job, I was a pharmaceutical representative for Merck, actually. And then I worked for Forest Pharmaceuticals. And then I had children, and I was a stay-at-home mom for about 16 years, and I did some jobs in between. And now I am at internU. We have a presence at Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia and are expanding to other hospitals as well. We're also in Hershey Medical. We're in the radiology reading room, and we hire radiology reading room assistants.
Thanks. Christina, why don't you go ahead next?
Sure. My first job was an associate scientist at Xenobiotic Laboratories. They were located in New Jersey, so I remember driving a really far distance to get there because it was the first job I could get. I graduated from Del Valle in was 2009. And at that point in my life, I remember I didn't know what I wanted to do or wanted to be. Even after I graduated, I loved animals. I was thinking about being a zookeeper or a vet assistant or working in pharmaceutical. I remember applying everywhere, and that's just the direction that my life took. So my first job is really where that led me to where I am right now.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Emily, go for it.
So I'm in my first job right now. It's a year-long job as a resident at the VA Medical Center. So I just graduated from optometry school in May. And my first job I took on was resident because I wanted extra training. And not all optometry graduates go to residency. So it's becoming more common, but it's not everyone at this point. But I wanted extra training in low vision studies to work with blind and visually impaired, and in ocular disease to practice to full scope medical practice. So my current job is still impacting my future career, I guess you could say.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Gwynne, I'll ask this question of you. How has your career differed or stayed the same from what you imagined it would be when you first started out?
Well, my major was actually mass communications, and I concentrated in video production. And then I actually got a position at Merck as an administrative coordinator, and that's where I decided I wanted to get into pharmaceutical sales. And I mean, in high school and in college, I was a waitress, so I liked dealing with people, so I knew I wanted to get into sales. So Today, I'm not really in sales, but I develop relationships with people and that's what I enjoy.
Thanks. Emily, I know that you're newer into your career, but if you want to answer that question too, that would be great.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so how has your career differed or stayed the same from what you imagined it would be when you first started out?
Yeah. When I was at Del Val, I wanted to go to optometry school, and the office actually helped me with all my interview and everything. It was great. So I had that idea ahead of time, but I would say now I think that, it's changed as you go, I guess. But I always kind of wanted to go into optometry and go to residency and be very involved in maybe even the R&D side of optometry. So that's still kind of developing.
Great. Go ahead, Christina.
When I was at Del Val, my major was biology, and I remember in college wanting it to be zoology. I always thought I would work with animals, work as a zookeeper, and a mentor when I was at Del Val told me to keep my major biology, keep it broad. You can still work with animals, you can work in research, you can work with the vet. So I took that advice, I kept it biology, and I never thought I'd end up working in research as a scientist, but I'm happy. I love what I do. I still love animals, and I'm really happy. I have a fun job, so that's where I ended up.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so this one might take you back a little bit. So how and when did you learn about your current career choice or industry?
So that would be me, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, like I said, so I after I had my daughter, I stayed home for a while, and I did different things here and there. I sold jewelry. I sold sports. I don't even know what you call it. Healthy drinks to take, like before you exercise and after. And then I also helped my friend. She's basically a professor at Eastern, and she owns a company called Females Ascending Boundaries, and she does motivating programs. So I was actually selling that to schools as well. And so then just in my research of finding positions, I ran into internU, and I developed relationships with schools and to find students to place in various positions we have. And I also run a program that we have. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, and can you remember, like, was there a moment when you learned that the career path that you're on was a possibility?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I really loved being a pharmaceutical rep. I did a lot. It has changed a lot since I was one. It was a while ago, but I actually loved that position. That was a job that I loved, and I enjoy what I do now. I'm part-time because I have children. I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, so it works with my schedule and their schedule, which is great.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and same question to you, Emily.
Sure. So when I was in high school, I ended up, my friend's mom was an optometrist, and I knew I wanted to go into the medical field, and I worked at her practice. I met her in high school and became interested, and I actually ended up working for her in the summers of college. And then I was trying to decide between medical school and optometry school, and ultimately through that job and then also some more observation of other practices, I decided to go to optometry school. And I had that goal probably from junior year at Del Val. I decided that, and then ended up going to optometry school directly after Del Val.
Nice, thank you. Go ahead, Christina.
So when I was in college, I always knew of Merck and the pharmaceutical industry. I just never had much exposure to it, meaning that I never did an internship or talked to scientists, or I've never had anything like this. I don't think they did stuff like this back when I was in college. If they did, I just wasn't paying attention. So I kind of learned more on the job and as I went.
Great. And let's see. I'm going to ask one about, I think we might have some interesting stories, right? So if you all could, and we have 8 minutes or so, if you all could share a brief example of a professional mistake that you've made or failure that you've faced in your professional life and what you learned from it.
Well, I can say that. So while I was a stay-at-home mom, I was trying to find some things to do. So I got into selling jewelry, and I loved the jewelry, but I wasn't making any money. When I sold it, I would use that money to pay for the jewelry. So that was definitely a mistake.
Yeah, you found yourself in a position that just, in theory, it was great, but not in the reality of it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, go ahead, Emily.
Well, this happened actually a few weeks ago. I was working in a clinic that I work with the neuro-ophthalmologist here. And I'm only in that clinic once a month or so, so not frequently, but I definitely, he was quizzing me basically, and we were going through cases and whatnot, and I was not up to par on my neuro education, and I think that it really illustrated to me that we're never done learning, right? I graduated and I'm practicing now, but you're never done learning and growing in your field. And I think that that's something that I hope to take with me throughout my career.
Yeah, and that's really great advice to anybody who's listening. Go ahead, Christina.
As a scientist who works in research, I made so many mistakes that I don't even know which story to tell you guys. It's kind of like part of my job. Like, we make mistakes, we learn from them. I made buffers incorrect. I made so many. I work with robotics, so problems with the automation and the instrument. Maybe I made a wrong protocol. I guess what I would want to tell any students listening is expect to make mistakes. Like, you're going to, that's how you learn, just similar to what Emily said. You definitely learn from them. So don't be afraid of making mistakes and failing. It makes you stronger. It makes you more knowledgeable. So definitely don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Expect it. And it's okay.
Thanks. And since we have a few more minutes, maybe a follow-up question to that. So if you can give an example of an obstacle that you faced in your career and how you've overcome it, or if you're still working to overcome it, that's okay too. And if Gwynne, if you're not sure off the bat, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if either Christina or Emily want to answer this.
Yeah, I have a story.
I can answer it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christina, you go first.
Okay, so before I worked at Merck, I worked at a company called PPD. So I was a scientist there for 2 years. And that site ended up shutting down. So I was laid off for about 6 months. That was a huge obstacle for me. And I remember at the time, I wanted to get a permanent job. I didn't want to get a temp job because you probably see so many temp jobs or contract positions out there. My unemployment ran out, so I was forced to take a temp job. And the position I'm at right now, I started out as a temp. So another story I want to share with you guys is don't underestimate the temp jobs. A lot of the time, that's how you get into these big companies. You know, you start, it's like a 5 or 6 month contract, but then you can get picked up afterwards. So it's not a bad thing to accept a temp job, and that's how most of the employees, or a lot of the employees, get in.
Great advice. Thanks.
I just want to back that up too, because I was an administrative coordinator temp at Merck, which is now AstraZeneca, and I have very good friends that started like I did, and they are pretty high up in the company now. So it definitely is worth it taking a temp job.
Great advice. Yeah. And Emily, did you have one?
Yeah, so I've been here for about 4 months, and I have other co-residents as well. You might have seen one of them in the background earlier. So we all work together. We all are in the same clinics, and we work with the same attendings who are our doctors that we also work with. And I think that for me, I think that the culture of your work environment is really important. You have to go to work every day and you want to enjoy what you do. And we were all having an issue with this one doctor, just not, I won't go into detail. It's just that we were all having issues, and we all kind of wanted to bring it up and talk about it and keep it an open platform that we can all feel comfortable with. So I think that what I'm saying is just that it's good to have a good work environment and to be forthcoming with your coworkers and whatnot, to make sure that you feel safe and you feel comfortable and that you like going to work.
Nice. I'm going to ask one that wasn't on the list. So if you don't have an answer right away, that's okay. But I'm just thinking, we've had some really great pieces of advice already come out. Is there something that you wish you had known when you were a student that, looking back, would have been really helpful, that's, related to your professional development somehow? Do you have one, Christina? Oh, or Gwynne?
Yes. I was just going to say, I wish I would have done more stuff like this. Like any of the students who are listening, like, this is great for you. And I wish I would have done more stuff like this, talking to professionals, hearing a little bit about what they do, maybe applied to more internships. I think it's great that you're here, and it says a lot about you.
Thanks.
I'll follow that up and kind of echo that. I got to where I am because I talked to professionals, and I wish I would have talked to more, because and specifically in the medical field, there's so many different ways you can go, and there's so many different specialties, and I wish I would have talked to a variety of different specialties to really start to maybe decide where I was going from there. I kind of took a general route, and it's good, and I'm very happy. But it definitely helped me at that time to talk to more professionals, and then I could have even talked to more. And that, like, going to different offices and observing, and just taking the time to reach out and talk to whoever is doing something that you might be interested in. You never know what you might find.
And this is just, I think, could be super helpful to students. And again, since we're recording this for the future, what might you say to those students who would love to connect with professionals like yourselves, but are feeling a little bit, hesitant about it because it's a new situation or not something they've done before? What would you say to them?
I would say it doesn't hurt to try to get in touch with people at all. I mean, it looks good. Just be professional about it. You could go on LinkedIn. We always say handwritten letters go a long way. Now people just use technology. So handwritten letters to ask or to thank the people that you want to meet with, that would be great. So just go for it. Don't be afraid.
Thanks. Any other thoughts on that? It's okay if not.
I'm with Gwen. Don't be afraid. Reach out to people. apply to internships, do what
Agreed. Yeah, and if you're trying to connect with some doctors in the area, you can always call their office, and then if you can, they're usually busy, so you can leave a message with the front desk. And I did that through undergrad to get into different offices. And I even stopped by a few and just stopped by and said hi to the front desk person and said, I'm so and so, and I'm interested in this field. Can you please connect me with the doctor here if possible? Those kinds of interactions are very important, and the front desk staff is how things get done in an office, so it's helpful to connect with them.
I can back that up as a pharmaceutical rep. And a lot of times too, if you could look for the nurse practitioner, they're awesome. They really are. They would talk to pharmaceutical reps more than doctors. So that's a way to get in, or just to talk to them in whatever specialty they're in as well.